council meeting. We will start with a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lardo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Evans.
Here.
Ms. Russell.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Redmond.
Present.
Ms. Chamberlain.
Here.
Mr. Haskins.
Here.
Thank you. So we're going to start the meeting tonight with a very exciting topic, the tax budget for the city of Milford for the year 2022. Pat Wortham will make a presentation. All those persons wishing to speak for, against, comments, what have you, you will please need to stand up and raise your right hand to be sworn.
Anybody? I don't think Pat has to be sworn. She's representing the staff.
I asked you that. You said I'll swear her in.
I've changed my mind.
Okay. I like it.
That's my prerogative.
All right, you have the floor.
Okay, do we need to open the public meeting?
I think I did by what I said, but yeah, we will technically open the meeting.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Velardo.
Good evening.
Vice Mayor Evans and Council. The tax budget is the official kickoff to budget season. It takes a look at what we think fund balances will be at the end of 2022 based on information available now. As you know, we will meet again in a few months in a work session to really drill down and finalize the budget. Milford runs a tight and efficient budget. The city spends wisely. I tell folks all the time how much I love this council. Best way of saying it is you spend the city's money as if it were your own. There is no way to better say that. We are fortunate to have such good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I do guarantee that this tax budget will change. The months ahead will tell a better story about the delayed and lingering impact of COVID. There's some legislation traveling through now the Senate, which could, in a worst case scenario, cause the city to lose a significant amount of earnings tax receipts. But for now, income tax revenues remain steady, and that is very good news. Hotel, motel, and cinema taxes, those are still down a bit, but definitely rebuilding and moving in the right direction. The city made a good decision to be conservative with non-essential spending last year. Then in 2021, the city lifted that hold and reverted to business as usual in a positive, optimistic, yet watchful way. Special thanks to the entire city staff and our amazing city council on working through the pandemic with success. We will continue to look for every opportunity to cut expenses. That's part of business as usual. That will not change. So to wrap it up, the tax budget has been available in the finance office for public view. We have not received any requests to review it, which is not unusual at all. But if you would like to see it, please call or email the finance office. We'd be happy to send it out or make it available for you to come in and take a look. And I welcome anybody in the public or on council or staff to call me anytime. Anybody who knows me knows that I love to talk about budgets. And that's all I have. So I, at this point, would open it up to any questions from council, or I guess nobody's been sworn in.
Yeah, there's no questions from the audience. Are there any questions from council or staff?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
thank
You're
you.
welcome. So with that, I would like to present Resolution 2021-629, a resolution approving the tax budget for the city of Milford, Ohio for the year 2022.
We need a second?
That needs a second.
Second.
I think it needs a motion and a
Motion
second.
from us?
We're going to do that now.
We can. You want to do it right now?
We can do it now.
Okay.
Resolution 2021-629, a resolution approving the tax budget for the city of Milford, Ohio for the year 2022. Now therefore be it resolved by the council of the city of Milford that the tax budget submitted by the city finance director for 2022 shall be and hereby is adopted and approved. Need a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes,
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
thank you. I think we should have closed the public hearing before we did the resolution, but regardless, we'll close the public hearing. We made it through it. Thank you, Pat. Okay. That takes us to proceedings. Do I have a motion to approve the council meeting proceedings from the May 18th meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
I think you'll have
You
to
weren't here.
abstain.
Oh, sorry, you're right, I wasn't. Abstain.
Okay,
for
thank
that.
you. Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Thank you.
I believe we have correspondence from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control.
Yes. For Speedway LLC, applying for liquor control, do we want to have a hearing?
I'll make our usual motion that we do nothing.
Second?
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
All right. We have financial statements. I need a motion to adopt the April finance report.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
And I need a motion that we received the May finance report.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay. We're breezing through this. That takes us to our first public comment section. If you would like to address council, just please step up to the podium and give us your name and your address.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Carey. I just want to introduce myself. I'm the new Executive Director for the Greater Milford Area Historical Society from Museum. So it's good to be here. It's my first Milford Council meeting. I've just been in the role about a month. So I just wanted to let you know who I am. I look forward to being involved with the city and would love to help with anything going on, new committees or projects, things like that. And just so you know, I'm really looking to raise the profile of the Historical Society and the Promont Museum. So we'll have a lot of exciting events coming up. We'll continue with Art Affair, the weddings, the teas, the things that we normally do there, and the tours. But like to add a historic home tour, which I think would be great for the city and take advantage of all these beautiful homes here that are becoming so trendy and neat in the city. We're planning ice cream social for later in the summer. I don't have an exact date yet, but just to kind of bring people up and see the museum, maybe that haven't been there in a while, and a lot of other things. So stay tuned. Does anyone have any questions? Or
I'll give you a plug. I think the Claremont Chamber of Commerce is doing their Women in Leadership next month.
yes, July 13th, Women in Leadership. We will host that
Yep.
at the Promont Museum, so that should be fun.
Not too late to sign up.
That's right. And we will feature the museum and also some interesting history of women in the area. So,
Yeah.
so
Looking forward to it. Thank you for introducing yourself, and welcome to the city, and we wish you the best.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Miss Janet Cooper, in her red, white, and blue. Soon to be Grandma Cooper.
Yes. Janet Cooper, 552 Lila Avenue. I just wanted to thank everyone that participated in the Memorial Day Parade, those who came out to watch, but a special shout out to Jeff Weiler and Francie Kincaid was my contact for the cars they let us use, the drivers that they provided. They provided some trucks for the vets too. So we will thank them personally, but I wanted to do it publicly also.
I would agree. If you did not get a chance to see those cars,
They're beautiful.
Sandy, Lisa, and Kim can attest, they were
They're beautiful.
really cool cars.
And thank
They
God
really
it
make the
didn't rain,
parade.
because that would have
Right.
canceled our,
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine those cars in that Frontier Day weather? Oh,
yeah, that wouldn't have.
right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for
Yeah,
organizing.
thanks, Janet.
Thank you for all that you
Lauren,
do.
For everything.
Anybody else? Good evening.
Walter Akers, 104 Sycamore Street. I had just received a letter the other day concerning some changes that were going to happen in Old Milford, and the parcel numbers they gave were the old Conover Furniture Building off Victor Steer Drive. And it said to come in and there would be some type of posting. I came in and there's nothing here. I'm just trying to find out what they're doing in Old Milford. I also noted along the river line, the past couple days, they put in orange tracking stakes. So I don't know if that's the same project or something different, but just want to know what was going on with that, and then I'll give the floor back. I wanted to tell everybody that I live right there on Frontiers Day. I mean, it's on my front porch, and I'm going to tell you, the police and everybody did a fantastic job. I've been there for 30 years, and I've seen bad Frontiers Days where people got overly intoxicated, and this was probably one of the best ones I've seen. So I do appreciate that.
Awesome.
So back to you.
I'll let Mr. Doss address your questions.
So real quick question, on the river line, where in proximity are you, what area are you talking about where there were yellow marks?
It's the river line behind the VFW hall. Actually, it runs, they've got orange stakes from behind Polk Street and Sycamore.
Okay.
And the only thing I was sort of assuming is that might be where they're bringing the bike trail through. But-
Yeah, they are doing some work there. They're putting a walking path around there. So that's probably what those markings are for. Other than that, I'm not aware unless it's something with U.S. Geological Survey or someone like that. As far as work being done near the Conover building, if you get with Miss Bain and give her your contact information, I will provide that to Pam Holbrook. She is our assistant city manager. She also handles our planning and zoning, and she'll be able to get you some information on that.
Okay, but we don't know at this point whether it's a new road, a demolition, or what's going on? Because when I looked up the parcel numbers, it clearly showed the old Conover building, and I guess that's two parcels together.
Right.
And that's the only thing that's referenced. There's nothing referenced in the letter, and there was nothing here on hand as indicated by the letter I got.
I'm not aware of anything going on at the old Conover building. The property over next to that we do have for the Planning Commission a potential development that could go there. That might be the letter that you're referring to. Those generally go out to the adjacent property owners that are impacted by that. But I would encourage you, if you just give that information to Ms. Bain, I can have Ms. Holbrook get in contact with you and get you that, because I'm not aware of anything going on at the Conover building.
Does the letter invite you to the planning commission meeting by chance?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Because
it.
usually that's what
Okay,
happens, yeah.
that's the meeting you need to attend.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in
You'll
July.
get all the details at that meeting, and you'll be able to ask questions.
That's July.
All right, what he said was come to the building between the hours of whatever, and, and there would be a posting here that you could look at the plan.
Yeah.
And I came down early today, but everybody said they didn't know what I was talking about.
Okay, so,
Yeah, July 14th, on Wednesday will be that meeting at 6 o'clock on July 14th.
and tomorrow, if you come back, ask for Jackie or Pam. Either one of those should be able to help you.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay. There being no further comments, we will move into standing committee reports, and it's going to be the Vice Mayor Evans show for the next 30 minutes, I think. She's got a lot of reading to do.
We had 3 meetings, so I'll get through these as quickly as I can. Our first meeting was June 1st, called to order at 4 o'clock. Present were myself, Sandy Russell, Kim Chamberlain, City Manager Michael Doss, Assistant City Manager Pam Holbrook, Chief Mills, Finance Director Pat Worthland, and Assistant Jackie Bain. We had 3 visitors, Alan Benjamin, Adam Rogers, and business owner Ben Redmond. We approved the minutes from our April 28th meeting. Our first discussion was an ordinance or resolution allowing the finance director to create new Fund 236, American Relief Plan Act Fund. Mrs. Worthland brought before the committee information regarding ARPA, new accounting fund, which is different from the CARES Act funds. Even though it's more money, it does have a limited scope. The city expects to receive $1,340,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds. We expect to receive the funds in 2 equal installments, one installment in year 2021 and the other in 2022. We are requesting that council approve a new fund within the accounting system to accept the ARPA funds. The city's use of ARPA funds is limited to specific categories, infrastructure and revenue loss replacement. It makes no mention of buying PPE or EMS equipment like the CARES Act funds. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance authorizing the finance director to create new special revenue fund 236, American Relief Plan Act Fund, in accordance with Auditor of State Bulletin 1999-006 and Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.09F to track receipt and expenditure activity of the American Relief Rescue Plan grant funds distributed pursuant to American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
Second.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Haskins,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Velardo.
Yes.
Our next discussion was medical marijuana dispensaries. City Manager Michael Doss presented information about medical marijuana. The state of Ohio is opening up their licensing process and adding additional license. Mr. Doss discussed information from Ordinance 17-1282 with the committee. As the ordinance stands right now, the city would not authorize any medical marijuana dispensaries. The committee discussed repealing Ordinance 17-1282, also discussing any interest to restrict certain zoned areas in the city. At this time, if we were just to approve repealing the existing ordinance, Pam Holbrook would have to treat this as a clinic, which would leave this very open. Ms. Holbrook discussed how any place that we allow clinics, this dispensary could also go in that area. If we wanted more control, we could put a definition on it and make it a conditional use and state that you have to go to Planning Commission and get approval that way. Ms. Holbrook recommended that the committee have a plan in place before repealing the existing ordinance. The committee discussed regulating the distance between each dispensary location. Chief Mills recapped what he had said during a recent council meeting, that he had reached out to Lebanon, Ohio Police Chief, where they have a dispensary, or have had one for 2 years, and had almost zero problems. They are highly regulated. Chief Mills stated he has zero concern at this point. Mr. Benjamin came to the meeting to support medical marijuana in the Milford area. He's been a patient for 3 years since the program started, and it's helped him recover, and now he's been sober for the last 12 years. He currently drives 40 minutes in each direction to get his medicine because Claremont County does not have any dispensaries. Discussion for making this a conditional use that would have to come before Planning Commission was discussed. It would be a text amendment, and it would be adding the use, defining the use, and then add as a permitted conditional use. It will take a few months to get through the text amendment process. Then we looked at state laws. They prohibit, or they have regulations for dispensaries. Ohio Code 3796.30 says that no dispensary shall be located within 500 feet of the boundaries of a parcel of real estate having situated on a school, church, public library, public playground, or public park. Ms. Holbrook said we'd have to map that out, but obviously we have a lot of those in the city that would eliminate a lot of area. The committee discussed bringing the information before Law Director Mike Manier for his legal interpretation, which would allow the dispensaries by removing dispensaries from the current ordinance 17-2082. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance permitting retail medical marijuana dispensaries within the incorporated limits of the city of Milford and repealing Section 1 of Ordinance 17-1282 related specifically to the prohibition of retail medical marijuana. The committee affirmed Section 1 of Ordinance 17-1282 related specifically to the prohibition of medical marijuana cultivators and processors.
Second.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
After discussion with the law director and based on his recommendation, I recuse myself from voting because of a potential conflict of interest.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Doss discussed scheduling another meeting to go over the Charter Review Committee information. So we scheduled that meeting and then adjourned that meeting, June 1st. Then we met again June 4th. I called the meeting to order at 11:03. Present were myself, Sandy Russell, Kim Chamberlain, Law Director Mike Manier, City Manager Michael Doss, Police Chief Jamie Mills, and Finance Director Pat Worthland. No visitors. We approved the minutes from the June 1st meeting. Our first discussion was of the FOP Collective Bargaining Units Tentative Agreement. Mr. Doss indicated that the city and all 3 FOP Collective Bargaining Units, the police clerks, patrol officers, and patrol sergeants, reached a tentative agreement on contracts. Mr. Doss indicated that city council members received an executive summary outlining the terms of the agreements. Mr. Doss thanked Chief Mills and Mrs. Worthland for their participation and valued input throughout the negotiation process. Mr. Doss reminded the committee that all 3 agreements would have to be voted in the affirmative by the FOP bargaining units prior to the city council approval. Mr. Doss anticipated that voting by the FOP bargaining units would conclude prior to tonight's meeting. He asked if there's any questions, and with no further comments or questions, the committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft 3 ordinances authorizing an agreement between the City of Milford and the Fraternal Order of Police Ohio Labor Council Incorporated, representing the Milford Patrol Officers, Milford Police Sergeants, and Milford Police Clerks.
Yes. Second.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
And then we discussed the Charter Committee revision recommendations. Mr. Manier presented several proposed revision amendments to the city's charter to the committee. Changes included special and emergency meeting subject criteria, forfeiture of public office guidelines, council minutes and agenda posting requirements, sale and disposal of public property, appointment and removal of the Director of Finance and Chief of Police, competitive bidding guidelines, authorized expenditures in lieu of council, veto power over planning commission, process of introducing ordinances, adoption of ordinances and resolutions, guidelines for and publication of ordinances. Proposed revision amendments to the city's charter are available for public review and inspection with the city clerk. Mr. Manier indicated that the proposed revision amendments were a combination of his recommendations and the majority approval of the Charter Revision Committee. Mr. Manier remarked that the proposed charter revision amendments would have to be published in its entirety in the local newspaper prior to the November election. Without further discussion, the committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance for the City of Milford charter amendments to be placed on the ballot for an election.
Second.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
And we adjourned at 12:29 from that meeting. And then the third meeting, June 14th, Ms. Chamberlain called the meeting to order, and present were Sandy Russell, Finance Director Pat Worthland, and Assistant Jackie Bain. There were no visitors. They approved the minutes from the June 4th meeting. They discussed the ASME Collective Bargaining Unit Agreement. Finance Director Pat Worthland discussed the following information with the committee. The city and the ASME Collective Bargaining Unit reached an agreement as to the terms of the contract. The agreement covers the 3-year period starting July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2024. City council members previously received an executive summary outlining the terms of the agreement. Ms. Worthland wanted to thank Mr. Doss for his participation and valued input through the negotiation. The ASME bargaining unit met last week to discuss the agreement and voted in the affirmative. If council so chooses to vote in the affirmative at tonight's meeting, the ASME agreement becomes an executed contract. Ms. Chamberlain discussed a few changes from the last agreement, including sick time. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance authorizing an agreement between the City of Milford and Ohio Council 8, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, otherwise known as ASME.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
That meeting was adjourned at 4:08.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Evans. You guys had quite the workload. Okay, Community Development Committee, Mr. Haskins.
Thanks, Mayor. The Community Development Committee meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2021. I called the meeting to order at 4:01. I was present, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Redmond, Mr. Doss, and Ms. Worthland. Visitors were Joanne Waggle, Joyce Snell, and Brian Rowe. The proceedings, we approved those from May 10th, and then there was a presentation for the 5 Points Landing project updates, cost estimates, and phases. Mr. Doss presented the committee with updated cost estimates from the MSP engineering for the proposed 5 Points Landing Park located on the former Milford, Maine school site. Mr. Doss stated that the overall cost estimated for the park increased from $6.4 million to $7.7 million respectively. Mr. Doss presented the park in 3 phases. Phase 1 was the base park, which includes several green space areas for outdoor entertainment purposes, walking paths, parking, a farmer's market, a fountain feature, and landscaping throughout the park. Mr. Doss indicated that Phase 1 would cost approximately $2.8 million. Phase 2 included a pavilion, a multi-purpose pavilion that would provide indoor capabilities for performances, a community center, small conferences, art showings, and restroom facilities. Mr. Doss indicated that Phase 2 would cost approximately $2.5 million. And Phase 3 had the clock tower. The clock tower would provide the city with a functional clock tower, which would be the focal point of the park and provide visitors with a bird's eye view of Main Street and the entire park. Mr. Redmond asked if Phase 1 would include swings and chairs. Mr. Doss indicated yes. Those items were included under site amenities in Phase 1 base park. Mr. Redmond followed up asking for some clarification on the water feature versus a splash pad. Mr. Doss indicated that there were some concerns regarding child safety over a splash pad. Mr. Doss emphasized that a fountain feature would have soft water flowing instead of a jet-type powered nozzle usually incorporated in a splash pad. The committee conversation proceeded to shift to cost and future funding for the proposed 5 Point Landings project. Mr. Doss reminded the committee of the recent levy information provided by the Claremont County Auditor's Office. Mr. Doss stated that the increased cost estimates from the proposed 5 Points Landing Park would not support the levy proceeds received by a 1.5 mil levy that was recently recommended by the committee. Mr. Doss said that the 1.5 mil levy over a 5-year term would only provide roughly $1.4 million and would easily fall short of the $2.8 million for Phase 1 of the park project. Mr. Doss indicated that a 3 mil levy would provide enough funds to construct Phase 1 of the park project. The committee discussed a 6 mil levy that would provide the funds necessary to complete Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the park project. I questioned if 6 mil would be too much to ask the citizens of Milford to pay. Mr. Doss indicated that a 3 mil levy would cost the residents approximately $157.50 annually, and a 6 mil levy would cost the residents approximately $315 annually, based on a home valued at $150,000. Mr. Mitchell stated that he has some concerns with the park levy being on the same ballot with the proposed Milford school levy in the fall. Joanne Waggle spoke to the committee about her concern for seniors in the community. Ms. Waggle stated that seniors are on a fixed income and she didn't believe they would vote in support of a park and recreation levy. Ms. Waggle suggested that the city rent out the existing site for private functions and use those proceeds to make future park improvements. Joyce Snell respectfully disagrees and believes that the right project and vision for a park at the old Milford, Maine site would be supported by the community. She further stated that she supports a park and recreation levy. Mr. Haskins mentioned that 3 years ago, City Council held several public meetings to gather input from the residents on the vision for the former Milford, Maine school site. Brian Rowe asked what was included in the base park. Mr. Doss restated the items to be included in Phase 1 of the project. The committee agreed to advance the overall 5 Points Landing Park project and levy to the full council for comment. Without further committee discussion, the committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance declaring a necessity for an election for an additional 3.1 mil tax levy at a single levy and ballot issue in excess of the 10 mil limitation for parks and recreation purposes for 5 years for the city of Milford, Ohio. So we kind of bantered about whether or not it should be 3 or 6, and obviously 1.5 wasn't going to work. That's why we came back to the committee meeting. And then we talked a little bit about the school levy as well, and whether or not that would interfere, or how we felt about that. So we kind of debated all that stuff, and we thought, despite all that, and the really good discussion I think that we had, we said, let's move it to council and see what everybody thinks about those two things. Because if you vote no because you don't like the 3.0, that's fine. And if you vote no because you think it's going to interfere with the school levy, or vice versa, then that's fine as well, and we can revisit it at a later date.
I'd like to clarify, though, this isn't actually getting on the ballot. This is just the next step to get it verified by the auditor to actually give us the hard number to then present to council once again, vote it.
The target being the November election, though.
Yeah, but it'll have to come back to us a vote one more
Understood.
time. Yeah, correct.
Discussion? I'm assuming that's what you want, Mr. Haskins?
If you'd like to, yes.
I would like to,
absolutely.
but I don't know if you're.
I'm ready to move forward. I think the property is set empty for too long. I mean, need to let the voters decide what to do with it. Either we're going to develop it as a park or sell it for another development. So I think the voters should decide what they want at the site.
I mean, at this point, I guess I'm kind of on the same page. I mean, I had some, I was really kind of holding back because of the school levy, because I thought 2 levies in the same time frame. One, I mean, they're going to be fighting against each other. One, either they'll both lose, or one will win and one will lose. So at this point, I think we let everyone decide, make their decision, because I agree the property is set there for too long, and I think they're waiting. I think our residents are waiting for us to do something.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we've talked about it, and we've had plenty of meetings, and the city at that time has spoken that they wanted a park there and for the property to be left a park. And I think it's just up to our residents to decide, is that what we really want? And, unfortunately, being on the ballot at the same time with the school, but at the same time, I'm hoping that if people really want to park, they want to park. And also, our schools are amazing, and we do need a new junior high at the same time. It's unfortunate that everything's happening at once, but everything is happening at once. But so I think we should go ahead and let our residents decide what they really want to do with the piece of property.
Well, as you guys know, I was in favor of this from the get-go. I really was. But I gotta be honest, I've changed my mind. I've talked to a lot of people, trying to get feedback, and I've changed my mind on how I feel about this. I am really concerned that it's going to sabotage the school levy, and this community needs good schools. We've got to pass the school levy. I also am a firm believer that we need this park levy, because I think it's a really great plan, and I want both of them to succeed. My fear is if we put them up against each other, the residents are just gonna go no and no, too much tax, too much in 1 year, no and no. And then we're never gonna know if our timing was bad because they voted no and no, or if they didn't want it. Well, I feel like we won't know the answer to that if we put them up against each other. I don't feel like we're in a rush for this park. I completely agree. We've waited, and it's time for the residents to make a decision. I wholeheartedly agree on that. Coming out of COVID and watching what is happening to our restaurants and our businesses, people are struggling. By Golly's announced today that they're not open for lunch anymore. I'm not sure where we're headed right now. I think it's a little bumpy, and I think the timing is wrong. And I'm a firm believer, I'm a firm supporter of our schools, and I think it's important that the city partner and be a good partner to the schools, and we need to do what we can to get that school levy passed. So for that reason, and that reason alone, I am hesitating, and I would prefer that we just push this off until next year, maybe get it with the primary ballot. There's, aside from our school levy, there's no really compelling reason to come out and vote, and the school levy will be a big reason to vote. And I think if we put them up against each other, it's going to bode well for everybody. That's my biggest fear. I think we won't know if people said no because they're taxed out or no because they don't want it. And I want that park levy.
I want both to pass, but I just don't think that waiting 6 more months is going to make people change their mind. And I think most people already have their mind made up about the school levy. I think they already know what they want for the schools. I don't know. I don't think it's going to And we have most people voting for the schools aren't going to be voting for this. The majority of township
Is it going to
residents.
be a levy, or is it going to be a bond?
Bond.
I mean, I'm just really,
Bond, yeah.
It's a bond.
it is going to be a bond
It's a
for,
bond.
and the thought for a new junior high,
Yeah,
right?
just
Okay.
the junior
I just want
high.
to make sure that
Sorry, I
that was
misspoke.
clear. No,
Yeah.
no, I just want to make sure that,
You are correct.
Yeah, the problem is the longer we wait, right, the price goes up. We already see here that it went up
Yeah.
$1.4 million since the quote started. I agree with what everyone's saying. It's a very tricky thing to figure out what to do. I do sense that people have their minds made up in general if they're going to want a school or they want a park, and I think it is two separate things. I've been thinking about it a lot too. I'm personally on the fence too, because what I'm trying to figure out is how this project got from where it was to where it is now about spending all this money. A park's pretty simple. A park can be many things. So, it is a tough thing to think because we're going to ask the residents to spend money. If they vote no, does that mean it can't be a park? I don't think so, right? Maybe it means we should reevaluate what a park is. But I do want to emphasize that as I've learned coming onto council, that this is more than a park. We're calling it a park, but I really think that the previous council and the people who worked on it were viewing it as a very big community center. Much more than a park, right? It is a park in a sense, but it's really something that's going to be the shining thing of
It's
Milford.
a destination.
Destination, bring people together. Let the city host more events. Let us, as a city,
agree.
bring people together by using the space.
I agree.
I think we were looking at it as it being a focal point to our city.
Absolutely.
Coming into the city.
And for
and
that
link
reason, it's
or
going to cost a lot
downtown
of money.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, being that link between both areas.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
that reason, it's going to be a big ticket item, because to be a focal point, we need, that plan is beautiful. That would be a focal point.
So my thing is again, I encourage us to think about taking the next step so that we can just get the true hard numbers. And then we can, again, we have one more vote. We can say, you know what, we've talked about it more. Maybe we don't want it because of the school, but I really encourage us to consider taking it to the next step just to get the hard numbers to see what it's going to be.
For me, it's not a matter of what the numbers are, it's just principle.
Right.
Okay.
Second for the,
Does anybody want to make a second to the motion that's on the table?
Second.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Ms. Velardo,
No.
Ms. Evans,
yes.
Mr. Haskins,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond.
Yes.
Sorry. There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned at 4:41.
Awesome. That was a great discussion, everybody. Thank you. So manager report is not on our agenda, but I think Michael has just a couple things he wants to add.
Yeah, I do, just to update you on a few things going on in the city of significant importance. I do want to let everyone know that we made it to round 2 for potential funding from the Appalachian Regional Commission. The max that we can apply for is $250,000 to receive from them. Claremont County, not to bore you with the details, is the last county in Ohio in Appalachia, but we're not a distressed county, so we only get a certain portion that we're able to apply for, and the max on that is $250,000. So we're actually having a Zoom meeting with them on Thursday. Building on that, we do have a meeting with the Claremont County Development Authority this Friday. The city is seeking a piece of the state's 2022-2023 capital budget for the water tower as well. The mindset here, it's about a $5.5 million project. That includes the water tower, the discharge line, and the supply line. Remember, we have to upgrade those lines because of hydraulics before we put the new water tower online. So at 5.5, we're hoping if we can get Appalachian Regional Commission money, we can get in the state's budget, we can get OPWC funding for those 2 water lines, we can take a $5.5 million project down to $2 million, which is a pretty good deal. So that's kind of the goal that we're shooting for. We're going to hopefully try to use some of the rescue funds as leverage for the 2 water lines for our OPWC match. So again, those necessarily wouldn't come from local taxpayer dollars. Just to update, Riverside walking path construction is occurring this month. Also, asphalt paving and parking lot extensions for Jim Terrell Park and Jonas Memorial Park are happening this month. Both of those companies, or both of those projects are through J.K. Muir. They just happened to bid on both of those and got them, so they're coordinating those projects. The John Ruthven mural continues progress at the retaining wall located at the trailhead. You've probably seen those folks out there. RFPs for potential mixed use for the 25 Main Street property. Those will be available for council discussion at the July 20th meeting. So you'll be able to have the RFPs for just the building itself, RFPs in for the entire property, and then you can have a discussion about that, or just kind of put you on alert, may have a work session prior to that council meeting to just take all of that information. And once we receive all those RFPs, I'll provide those to you in advance. You can take a look at it before the meeting. Sparks in the Park. We are having Sparks in the Park this year. It's July 2nd instead of July 3rd. It's going to be from 8 to 10 p.m., so we pushed it back a little bit. We'll be at Riverside Park at the ball field. Billy Rock Band will be performing. We'll be getting some advertisements out on the big electronic billboard and on social media on our website a little later on this week. There will be adult beverages, soda, water, but we're not having any vendors there, as the mayor had alluded to, and we're wanting to support our businesses. So we're hoping that people still come out to Sparks in the Park and patron all of our restaurants, get a bite to eat before they go and enjoy some music and some fireworks entertainment, or bring your food down to the park and enjoy it there as well. So we're in a post-COVID world, I guess, or we're not there yet, but we're wanting to support our local businesses. We encourage everybody to get out and do that, and we'll revisit the vendors, food vendors, maybe next year, but we want to uplift and support our local businesses. As we alluded to a little earlier in the meeting, July 14th Planning Commission meeting at 6. That item that you received a letter on will be there. And then just on a kind of personal professional note, just want to let you know I am now officially a 2021 LEED Claremont graduates, and I'm now a LEED alumni. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
thank you. That's all I have for now.
I think we have a interested council member for the next 2022 lead class. Mr. Kyle Mitchell.
Maybe.
Yep. So that's awesome. It's a wonderful class. If you are considering a leadership class, I highly recommend the Chamber's lead program. It's wonderful. It's a great network opportunity, and I'm excited for your graduation, and I'm excited that Kyle's participating. Thank you.
Mr. Doss, can I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
The bridge on 131, what is happening? I'm ready to buy a helicopter and fly over that every day as opposed to going down Klondike. I just haven't heard the word.
So I heard there was rain this week, or there has been rain while I've been gone. As far as I know, that project is still on schedule to be completed by the end of this month. Chief Mills, I don't know if you've heard anything differently. I believe it's still on schedule. They had 28 days. I have not heard anything else. I'll be happy to
No, I was
reach
just
out
curious
to-
if
reach
you
out
knew
to
off the top of
ODOT.
your head. if
Yeah,
the bridge
That's
is
a
broken.
nightmare for you guys.
It really
It
is.
is.
It's a
I
nightmare.
know, it's
Are you
really.
using Klondike, or are you going around?
Well, we've
the-
tried to use Klondike, but
28.
it backs all the way up
Oh, I bet.
forever.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to make that left-hand turn to get down to
Oh, yeah.
the 275 interchange. So then you try to go down Wolf Pen, and, it's pretty dangerous, too. You guys know what Klondike is
is.
like. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
and
very
people are mad, and they're flying down. So anyway, I was just curious if it
I'll
was.
follow up and see. As far as I know, they're still on schedule,
Okay.
but if
Very
it
good.
changes a little bit, we'll certainly let the public know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Police report. Chief Jamie Mills, how are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I sent you my monthly report for the month of May, but I'll touch on some notable occurrences and also some community relations items. In terms of notable occurrences, the same unidentified male, a male white with gray hair, has committed at least 3 offenses of public indecency in the Old Mill District. That case is still under investigation, but fortunately we have not had an offense in almost a month at this point. As always, we remind the public to call us if they see anyone acting suspicious. An auto theft was reported at Premier Auto, located at 760 Main Street. That vehicle was recovered a short distance away on Seminole Trail. Unfortunately, we've had a rash of thefts from vehicles again, so I'm going to remind the public that it's worth the 20 seconds to remove anything from sight from inside your vehicle. Could be as simple as putting it in your trunk, glove box, but theft is the combination of temptation and opportunity. So by removing valuables from sight and locking your vehicle, You remove both of those elements, and it takes maybe 20 seconds. So I hear people all the time say, I don't lock my car because I don't want to replace a window. You're far more likely to prevent a theft just by locking your doors and not leaving anything inside of value. In good news, a lot of community relations items this month. Sergeant Lane attended the monthly Kiwanis Club meeting. Myself and Officer Bogan participated in the virtual DARE graduation. That was for the online students that were not in seated DARE classroom sessions this year. I attended the 2055 Foundation Gala to support the family of fallen Deputy Bill Brewer. Also attended a meeting with the graduates of Undivided, the racial solidarity program that I was honored to be able to participate in. We had a nice little in-person meeting because, as you recall, the 6-week program was done virtually. So it was nice to actually put some faces with those names. And the officers were really busy with community relations this month. They assisted a stranded Semvilla resident that they found walking to a bank in poor weather conditions. They participated, or provided rather, some extra patrol at Evans Funeral Home where there might have been some trouble, assisted a juvenile with transportation to Milford Junior High, delivered door-to-door notices for the road closures for the Frontier Day Parade, provided a single mother with resources for food, a protection order, and housing assistance, and conducted several senior visits, including picking up medication for elderly residents. So kind of things they do on a regular basis, but I wanted council and the public to be aware of these things that are not extraordinary because they do them on a regular basis, but it might not be something you're aware of.
It's definitely above and beyond.
Well,
Yeah, thank you.
it's an important part of our culture here. And lastly, and definitely not last, we assisted with that Memorial Day parade. Felt really great to get back to business as usual. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
So, Chief, on Sunday, my husband and I were coming home from the bike trail and witnessed 2 people jumping off the bridge.
Yes.
I got calls.
Yeah.
So what,
Did you get calls too?
what,
That's
like,
been going
how can
on.
we reiterate that that is so dangerous? That bridge is not something to be jumping off of.
Right. There's a channel in the middle that they fortunately are aiming for, and we've been lucky that we haven't had anyone that's missed that channel, but it's just a matter of time. We've put signs up. We've done everything we can. I got a call yesterday morning from a resident over off of Ferry Street who said he counted no less than 20 people jumping. Short of posting officers on the bridge, I don't know what we could do.
Is it a criminal offense to jump off that bridge?
Yes, we reviewed that with Mr. Manier, and we determined that is just a violation of our disorderly conduct statute. But it's impossible to catch it. By the time we get the call and we get down there, they're long gone. So, but it's something we've dealt with my entire career here. It's just getting a lot worse. I think it's because, you know, the river has become so popular,
Sure.
the businesses along the river. But yeah, it is something that we get a lot of calls on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to suggestions, but
Is there a way to put like a camera on there so that then you could just publicize? You know, because obviously there's a certain point in which they're jumping from the bridge, right? We know that they're aiming
Right.
for something. Is
Yeah.
there, that'd be the only thing I'd say is to really, unfortunately, I hate to say in our 24-hour surveillance
Right.
culture, but
right. I almost feel like I would encourage it. I want to be famous.
unless, well, you could use social media, right, to have them called out, and then you're
Yeah.
you're going for it, right? You're going in the community because you're very concerned. I can see the
Well,
concern, you know.
yeah. I mean, and then this weekend, right there on the one side of the bridge, there's a memorial for,
Right.
somebody that died 2 years ago, and then you've got people jumping
Right.
off on the other side.
I don't think
and
that,
it was-
I don't think that boy died jumping off the
No.
bridge.
No, but it was just a memorial. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
a memorial, but then, you know what I mean? Like, it was just,
Right.
it's just not smart.
I mean, it's really a matter of resource allocation. We have far more people injured in auto accidents every
Right.
month, year, whatever
Yeah.
than we do with the bridge jumping, but it is a concern. So, yeah, I'm open to suggestions, but yeah, that's something that typically those calls spike around this time of year.
Okay.
So, audience, if you can hear our voices, please, please do not jump off the bridge,
Right.
please,
Yeah,
There
that's
you go.
fine.
right? Please do
That's a
not
little
jump off the
safer.
bridge.
Definitely
Just
safer.
because you got lucky, doesn't mean it was a good idea.
No.
One thing we have done is we've partnered with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. They're far more equipped to enforce things along the river. They can place officers, you know, scouted out in the wood line there. They have access to boats to go get them and charge them with offenses as well. So we kind of defer to them for that.
Yeah.
Because it's along the waterway.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chief.
You gotta publicly shame
Fire and EMS?
them. I'm just saying.
Captain Miller. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
I was very sorry to hear about your grandfather.
Thank you very much. I think Chief already sent out his report for May. I was just going to hit a couple of things. The 9/11 and Claremont County Law Enforcement Memorial refurbishment campaign was completed successfully. So they're going to start refurbing that, building it up, make it nice and pretty again. So I'm looking forward to that. Our new 2021 ambulance is now in service, and new is in quotation marks. We took the box off of our old ambulance and put it on a new truck. So there was nothing really needed to be changed in the box in the patient compartment area. So just a new ride, which will improve how our patients are doing in the back. Our backup ambulance is now being sent out for some minor upgrades as well, so it'll match the new unit. You've already talked about water issues. We have been working hard on water training, water emergencies, river rescues. Myself and firefighter Wurzelbacher completed a swift water rescue class, which involved about 42 hours being in a river, doing different rescue scenarios. So we have that to offer. We just want to be ready. There is, like you said, there is increasing river traffic, and there's the reason we're in business is people jumping off the bridge. So we just want to be ready. And finally, Milford Community Firefighters Club is hosting the Big Trouble Blues Band for a Blues and Brews event at the American Legion. This will be on August 14th at 5 o'clock. It goes along with the second Saturday in Milford.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sounds great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody on council want to have a comment or anything they want to share? Kim, do you want to talk about your cleanup?
Oh, well, cleanup was so successful. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you, Jackie, for all of the work that you did, and everybody that donated for raffles. We were able to give our volunteers several raffles away, and we had about 30 volunteers roughly, and collected, I'm gonna guess, over 20 bags of trash in our area. So thank you to everybody that came out, and we will do another one next year.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I was just thinking about the bridge issue. Maybe we could, because there's a certain spot that they are jumping from. If we could put something there to prevent them.
Well, then I don't want
Jumping
them to
there.
go around on the other side and then hit the,
Well, but-
Unsafe part.
And the
The
people that are
unsafe
trying to
part,
walk from
'cause-
Terrace Park are going to have to go in the road.
I mean, not blocking, I'm like blocking, like.
Oh, sticking
flower
out,
boxes, like,
protruding?
Yeah, like something that would go out off the railing,
the herd.
so they can't just stand up there and jump. I don't know.
I think they're-
Sorry.
no,
Just thinking.
no, he was saying.
More flower boxes, something like to block their path. I don't
They're
know.
going to do it if they want to do it.
They jump down at Miamiville, they jump at that bridge too.
They do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, sorry, that was all. I'm just
Don't
trying
give
to
any
think.
ideas.
Yeah, they jump down there all the time.
All right. If nobody has anything, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just happy to be under these extremely light
I
lights
bet you
again.
are. We
Yeah.
missed you.
Yeah. Just, everybody might not know, this bridge that's down there now replaces the bridge, older
yeah.
bridge, yeah. And they've been jumping off that bridge for
How many years?
Many years. Long before I got here, so that's, okay.
Just
thought you
keep
might
jumping
learn
like
that. Nice little piece of information
It's all
there.
fun and games till someone gets hurt.
Okay, ordinance 2021-86, an ordinance authorizing an agreement between the city of Milford, Ohio and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council, representing the Milford patrol officers, now therefore be ordained by the council of the municipality of Milford. Section 1, the council of the city of Milford, Ohio hereby authorizes the city manager to execute the agreement by and between the city of Milford and the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council representing the patrol officers of the Milford Police Department. Terms and conditions of said agreement are hereby incorporated herein by reference in their entirety pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Section 2 pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter. This ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only?
Second.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Ms. Velardo,
Yes.
Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Mr. Haskins.
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-86, an ordinance authorizing an agreement between the city of Milford, Ohio and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council, Inc., representing the Milford Patrol Officers.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-87, an ordinance authorizing agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council, Inc., representing the Melford Patrol Sergeants, now therefore be ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Section 1. The Council of the City of Milford, Ohio hereby authorizes the city manager to execute the agreement by and between the City of Milford, Ohio and the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council, Inc., representing the patrol sergeants of the Milford Police Department. The terms and conditions of the said agreement are incorporated herein by reference in their entirety pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter, Section 2, pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter. This ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second?
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-87, an ordinance authorizing agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council Incorporated, representing the Milford Patrol Sergeants.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-88, an ordinance authorizing agreement between the City of Milford, Ohio and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council Incorporated, representing the Milford Police Clerks, now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Section 1. Council of the City of Milford, Ohio hereby authorizes the city manager to execute the agreement between the City of Milford, Ohio and the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council, Inc., representing the police clerks of the Milford Police Department. Terms and conditions to said agreement are hereby incorporated herein by reference in their entirety pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Section 2 pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter. This ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second?
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-88, an ordinance authorizing agreement between the City of Milford, Ohio and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council, representing the Milford Police Clerks.
A motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Evans? Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-89, an ordinance declaring the necessity for an election for an additional 3.0 mil tax levy as a single levy and ballot issue for parks and recreational purposes in excess of the 10 mil limitation for 5 years for the City of Milford, Ohio. Whereas it is necessary for the continuing provision, improvement, and maintenance of City of Milford parks and recreational amenities and facilities, and whereas it is necessary to levy a tax for the purpose of financing the continuing provision, improvement, and maintenance of City of Milford parks and recreational amenities and facilities, now therefore be ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Section 1, that an additional tax be levied at a rate not to exceed 3.0 mils for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 30 cents for each $100 evaluation, to be used for the purpose of providing, improving, and maintaining parks and recreational amenities and facilities for and in the City of Milford. The tax is to be levied upon the entire territory of the City of Milford, located in Claremont County, Ohio, and Hamilton County, Ohio. It is necessary to levy a tax outside the 10 mil tax limitation. Section 2, that the question of levying such additional tax be submitted to electors of the City of Milford at the general election to be held within the City of Milford on November 2nd, 2021, pursuant to Section 5705-19H of the Ohio Revised Code. The ballot issue shall be submitted to the entire territory of the City of Milford. Section 3, that such additional tax levy be placed on the tax list of Claremont County and Hamilton County as Ohio for the years 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026 if the majority of the electors voting thereon vote in favor thereof. January of the year 2022 is the first month and year in which the tax will be levied for the collection calendar year 2023. Section 4, that the clerk of this council of the city of Milford be and hereby is directed to certify a copy of this ordinance to the Board of Elections of Claremont and Hamilton Counties, Ohio, as provided by law, and notify the Board of Elections to cause notice of election on the question of levying such additional tax be given as required by law. Section 5. The taxing authority of the city of Milford hereby requests pursuant to and in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.03, that the Claremont County Auditor certify to the taxing authority of the city of Milford the total current tax valuation of the subdivision and a dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by 3.0 mils additional tax. Section 6, that the city law director and city finance director are hereby given full authority to make any and all corrections to this ordinance which may be deemed necessary by the Claremont County Auditor and/or Claremont County Board of Elections. Section 7, pursuant to in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance should become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second?
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-89, an ordinance declaring the necessity for an election for an additional 3.0 mil tax levy as a single levy and ballot issue for parks and recreational purposes in excess of the 10 mil limitation for 5 years for the city of Milford, Ohio.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Ms. Velardo?
No.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-90, an ordinance amending Chapter 737 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Milford, Ohio, permitting retail medical marijuana dispensaries within the corporate limits of the City of Milford, Ohio, and prohibiting marijuana cultivators and processors. Now therefore be ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Ohio. Section 1. The Council of the City of Milford hereby amends Chapter 737 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Milford, Ohio, as follows. Chapter 737, medical marijuana cultivators, processors, and retail dispensers. Section 737.01, definitions. As used in this chapter, marijuana means marijuana is defined in Section 3719.01 of the Ohio Revised Code. Medical marijuana means marijuana that is cultivated, processed, or dispensed, tested, possessed, or used for medical purpose. Section 737.02, medical marijuana processing and cultivation prohibited. No person shall cultivate or process medical marijuana. Person means every natural person, firm, co-partnership, association, or corporation. Section 737.99, penalty. Whoever violates any section of this chapter is guilty of a misdemeanor of the first degree. Each day that any person continues to violate this chapter shall constitute a separate and complete offense. Section 2, retail medical marijuana dispensaries are permitted within the City of Milford. No medical marijuana retail dispensary shall be located within 500 feet of the boundaries of a parcel of real estate having situated on it a school, church, public library, public playground, or public park. Section 3, this ordinance shall amend ordinance number 17-1282 and amend and supersede any ordinance, resolution, regulation, or rule which is clearly inconsistent herewith. Section 4, pursuant to in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second?
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
You had to recuse yourself, Ben?
I thought that was for actually just making, I thought,
You
well, I
should-
can recuse myself again. I thought that was just for the actual vote, not for reducing the title.
Yeah, you, for all
For all of
purposes,
it.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was my
Recuse.
fault. I didn't tell you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Redmond recuses himself on that vote.
Okay.
Ordinance 2021-90, an ordinance amending Chapter 737, the Codified Ordinances of the City of Milford, Ohio, permitting retail medical marijuana dispensaries within the corporate limits of the City of Milford, Ohio, and prohibiting marijuana cultivators and processors.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
I recuse myself.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-91, an ordinance to provide for an election on the adoption of the proposed amendments to the charter for the city of Milford, Ohio, and declaring an emergency, whereas the Charter Revision Committee has submitted to Milford City Council proposed amendments to the charter of the city of Milford, and whereas the Milford City Council has made certain modifications to the proposed amendments, and whereas Milford City Council has designated November 2nd, 2021 as the time for the election on the adoption of the proposed amendments by the electors of the city of Milford, and whereas it is the duty of the legislative authority to make provisions for such election and so far as not prescribed by general law, now therefore be ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Section 1, that the question of the proposed charter amendments for the city of Milford, Ohio, as reported by the Charter Revision Committee and as modified by City Council, shall be submitted to a vote of the qualified electors of the city of Milford at an election to be held on November 2nd, 2021, as prescribed by general law. Section 2, that the ballots for said election shall at the top thereof be entitled City Charter Revision Ballot, and the question to be submitted on said ballot shall be in the following language. Shall the proposed amendments to the charter of the municipality of Milford as reported by the Charter Revision Committee of the city of Milford and as modified and approved by the Milford City Council be adopted? To the left of said wording in boxes with an appropriate place for marking shall appear the words yes and no, and each voter shall indicate their vote in a place so provided. Section 3, that the city law director shall make the necessary arrangements with the Claremont and Hamilton County Board of Elections for giving notice and placing said questions on the ballot. Section 4, that the city law director shall give notice of proposed amendments to the city of Milford Charter in accordance to Section 731.211 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 5, that the city law director is hereby given full authority to make any and all corrections to this ordinance which may be deemed necessary by the Claremont County Board of Elections. Section 6, that this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency ordinance which is necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, welfare, and safety of the city of Milford, and for the reason that it must be passed and adopted at once so that it may become effective immediately, and for the reason that it's necessary to immediately make arrangements for having this issue on the ballot on November 2nd, 21, and especially to provide sufficient time for the electorate of the city to inform themselves as to the provisions of the proposed charter amendments and therefore be more adequately informed and educated so that they may then cast their vote on November 2nd, 2021.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only?
Second.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-91, an ordinance to provide for the election on the adoption of the proposed amendments to the charter for the city of Milford, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2021-92, an ordinance authorizing the creation of the American Relief Plan Act Fund number 236 and declaring an emergency, whereas the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, a $1.9 trillion economic COVID-19 stimulus package was signed into law by the President of the United States on March 11, 2021. And whereas the ARP will provide additional relief to address the continued impact of COVID-19 on the economy, public health, state and local governments, individuals, and businesses, and whereas part of the ARP, $350 billion in additional funding is being provided to state and local governments, and whereas pursuant to guidance issued by the Auditor of State in a bulletin dated April 7, 2021, the Federal Funding Accountability and Transparency Act requires separate accountability for direct recipients and subrecipients of federal awards greater than $25,000. And whereas Ohio Revised Code 570509 requires subdivisions to establish separate funds for each class of revenue derived from a source other than the general property tax. And whereas Ohio Revised Code 5705.12 further requires the taxing authority of subdivision to establish, with the approval of the Auditor of State, a separate fund for money derived from specified sources other than the general property tax. And whereas the auditor state approves taxing authorities to establish the separate funds required for separate accountability of federal programs upon adoption of local ordinance or resolution, further, local governments do not need to seek auditor state approval for establishing new COVID-19 federal programs. And whereas council finds the recommendation of the administration to establish the American Relief Plan Act Fund number 236 to be in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of all the residents and businesses in the city of Milford. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Section 1, that the Finance Director is hereby authorized to establish the American Plan Act Fund number 236 to separately account for any funds received through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 so as to be in compliance with the Federal Funding Accountability and Transparency Act. Section 2, that this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Milford. The immediate emergency being the necessity to authorize the creation of the American Relief Plan Act Fund number 236 to separately account for federal funding coming to the city of Milford through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Therefore, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage by this council and approval by the mayor.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2021-92, an ordinance authorizing the creation of the American Relief Plan Fund number 236 and declaring an emergency.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-93, an ordinance authorizing agreement between the City of Milford, Ohio and Ohio Council 8, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Section 1. The Council of the City of Milford hereby authorizes the city manager to execute the agreement between the City of Milford and ASHME representing the municipal employees. The terms and conditions of said agreement are hereby incorporated herein by reference in their entirety pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Section 2 pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter. This ordinance should become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second?
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-93, an ordinance authorizing agreement between the City of Milford, Ohio and Ohio Council 8, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, ASHME.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Menier. It's been a very long time since we've had 9 ordinances and resolutions. If no one has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor Velardo?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
All right, everybody. Next council meeting is July the 20th. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see you then.